Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. So today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by James Potter, MD of Superstructures, Sugal, partner at Scott & Bland, and Peter Brady, CEO of Orbital Media, for a spotlight on SMEs, particularly around Suffolk. And let's fire some questions at them. Folks, welcome. Lovely to have you all on. First question, do we all have coffee or tea? I'll even we'll let it even go down to like water, just a beverage. There we go.
I've got something really unusual for you, Jordan.
Go on.
I've got a beetroot shot that I need to take, a little bit later on before I do some training on the bike. So, bet you haven't had one of those before.
No, I've not. I don't think I'll give it a go either. Right, folks, let's crack on. James, as you kick things off, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and also what is an SME?
James Potter, I'm MD of Superstructures. So we're a consultancy of structural engineers. Basically, we design buildings as part of design teams, architects, quantity surveyors. So we form the design team effectively using maths and physics to make sure that buildings perform and don't fall down, ideally. We have a main office in Ipswich, employ 15 people plus me, and we have another kind of more satellite-ish office in Cambridge, but working across all sectors east of England. And an SME, I looked up the definition actually. I think it encompasses a few different areas, but small, medium enterprises, micro, medium, slightly larger. But effectively less than 50 employees is probably, in my world, less than 50 employees. You get micro, less than 10, and there is a bracket for less than 250 employees. But yeah, for me, an SME is less than 50.
Fantastic. Thanks, James. And Sue, over to you. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Right, so I'm a partner in Scott & Bland. We are accountants, tax advisors and insurance brokers, which tends to be a complete conversation killer at parties, really, particularly when I say I'm an auditor. But in actual fact, it's and it sounds like the most boring job in the world, but I've been doing it for about 35 years now. And it's surprisingly interesting, which has kept me interested for the last 35 years. Not just being an accountant, but getting to know a lot of businesses all around East Anglia. We're a local firm, 150 people, 12 partners, so I'm one of the partners. And the majority of our clients are owner-managed businesses, and we do have a very large section of our business which deals with SMEs. So, but we get to go into companies and get to know the people who run them, because the companies are really about people and the businesses are all about the people. And our role is to help advise them on their financial affairs and also their insurance.
Fantastic. Cheers, Sue. And Peter, last but not least, again, who you are, what you do.
Hi, my name is Peter Brady. I have involvement with three organisations or businesses. The first one is Orbital Global, which is a digital services and technology company which has been operating for the last 20 years. And we focus on delivering digital technologies, digital services into global corporations, global organizations. With that, a lot of that involves developing and deploying and commercializing innovations into the marketplace. My second business, which I'm also CEO of, is a spin out of Orbital, which is just about to complete a funding round called Verturi. That is a artificial intelligence and machine learning business that we're scaling and growing at the moment, and it's essentially a piece of technology we've been spent the last 4 or 5 years developing to deploy into the healthcare market as a clinical informatics avatar. And the third business I'm involved with is Innovation Labs, and Innovation Labs is a entity that we set up amongst other businessmen about 2.5 years ago to support innovation and entrepreneurship in the region. And we think by point of this year, we should be the biggest innovation space provider in East Anglia, supporting a wide variety of members and small businesses and SMEs that are coming through. In terms of SME definition, I don't think I can really add any more than James described there. I think that was a pretty good definition, so I won't add any more to that.
Blimey, I don't feel like Tony Stark's even got that much going on. Peter, I'm going to stick with you on this one. For a young person, for a student who's sort of considering their career post-college or post-uni in Suffolk, what are some of the benefits of working with an SME based in the county?
Yeah, I think SMEs traditionally are incredibly dynamic, agile organisations, and there is the flexibility to work in a wide variety of areas. Maybe less so than you might anticipate or envisage doing within a larger business. A big corporate can be quite restrictive in terms of where and how you work and how you operate. And I think SMEs really do offer that fantastic ability to really change direction very quickly in a very rapid way. And that can offer a much broader range of opportunities to learn new skills and engage in different scenarios and work with different clients. And as I say, that might be, I think that's quite a significant difference between an SME and a much bigger business, which would be very helpful to anybody's career when they come out of college or university or school.
Brilliant, thanks, Peter. And James, Sue, any other comments to make on that one in terms of some of the benefits and perks of working with an SME based in Suffolk?
After you, Sue.
Okay. I think that you can get to know what's really happening and how a business works much more easily if you're in an SME. If you're in a big national business, you're very much driven by a national or even international strategy, which may not be at all beneficial for the local economy. Whereas if you're working in an SME, you also have a lot more chance to influence the direction of an SME. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I was going to say similar things. You are in a smaller organisation, and therefore, this is a kind of a cliche of not being just a number, but you're not a number. You will see as a young person coming in, you'll see your senior team have much more contact with your senior team. Your MD, they can really. I really, want to know what my employees want to do. I want to know how, what areas of development. I want to know. I want to know what they want to do with their lives. So I want to know where they see themselves in 5 years and 10 years. And it's my job and my senior team's job to help them develop and make that happen. And I think in big corporate organizations, sometimes you can just be part of the process. And I think in SMEs, you can, if you're willing to put the work in and you're willing to push forward, you can do that much faster.
Great responses, thank you, folks. And James, just sticking with you, what do you think are some of the misconceptions of SMEs and small businesses in Suffolk? As let's say you're speaking to like a 14-year-old. What do you feel are some of those misconceptions, or anybody? What are some of the misconceptions about SMEs?
Yeah, I suppose in my world, in the construction industry, they probably think that the projects that they might be working on are going to be boring, small. Some young people in the construction industry think that if you're working in SME, you won't be able to work on the big, exciting projects, and potentially they might perceive that the opposite to what I've just talked about. They might perceive that there won't be the opportunity to progress. They won't have funding for their development. That the business might be erratic in the way that it moves forward, and job security, long hours, all those sorts of things. And actually, I think it's almost the reverse of that.
Great response. And Peter and Sue, we're always hearing about skills gap in a variety of different industries and sectors. What does that mean for both of you in your industries? And go to Peter on that one for now.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's fantastic if we can have an individual coming out of school, college, or university where their skills are as tailored as much as possible to our needs. That saves us time in terms of getting them up to speed, and it benefits them being able to engage and develop their careers in a much more accelerated way. So I think that sort of skills gap I think there's always going to be a little bit of an element with that of skills that will require training on the job or training as you get into the jobs market. But I think to try and ensure that when you're sort of approaching the point where you want to enter the jobs market and have a career, trying to ensure that you're understanding or as much as possible the career or jobs or industry that you're trying to enter, and to try and match those skills. So, for instance, with Orbital, in terms of digital services and digital technology, digital innovation, we're looking for developers that have up-to-speed skills in those sorts of arenas. We're looking for people with good communication skills. We're looking for people with good writing and copywriting skills to construct reports, management skills. All these things, are things that anybody can do in terms of as they enter the job market to really make themselves more attractive to potential employers.
Fantastic. And Sue, your thoughts in terms of skills gap within your sector?
Well, we're a training organisation, so we do have normally at least 30 students in training at any one time. And I think overall, our view is that we would rather take on somebody raw. When we think about skills, we tend to think about sort of technical skills. But in actual fact, the skills we're looking for are enthusiasm, want to communicate, want to get along with people, want to work in a team. It's those sort of skills that we're looking for. We'd rather take somebody completely raw and teach them how to use an Excel spreadsheet, how to write an email, how to write, a report. We'd rather do that than have somebody who came on board thinking that they knew everything, or who's got the wrong attitude and doesn't want to be broad-minded and flexible and learn.
Fantastic. And James, question for you. At what point did you feel like being your own boss was the right decision?
I think I always wanted responsibility, even when I was younger. In my first jobs, I always wanted responsibility. I like responsibility, and I always wanted to be a designer. So I wanted to create something. And I guess if you're your own boss, you are creating something. Everything you do, you might create a new system, or you might look into new work streams, or you might look into, how your team can work differently. And I guess that's all part of running a business. I suppose, when I was training and I was employed at another business, I could feel that I had experience in all elements of those businesses, but I loved meeting new clients. I liked doing things that weren't just the day job. And I guess that's when I thought, I fancied the challenge, and like I say, I wanted to create something new that was mine. So
brilliant. And Sue, I'm going to put this one to you. So did you work in other SMEs before your current position?
Probably when I was a teenager, when I was a waitress, but I had worked with big national organisations, which included Courage Eastern, NatWest, and a national firm of accountants. So it was quite new to me 20 years ago when I ended up in an SME. And I was very glad that I was there and have been for the last 20 years. Would never go back. I have been asked if I would go back into a national firm, and I've just said never.
Excellent, thank you. And gents, what about yourselves? James, same question for you.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
So did you work in other SMEs before your current position?
Right. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that on the screen. Yes, I did. I worked for an SME when I was at college. I worked in outdoor catering, and that was a great experience. Again, your typical SME experience, really small business doing amazing things. And I was willing to work really hard and take responsibility. So, by the time I was 18, I was in a management position and doing things that were, slightly mind-blowing at 18, really. But it was brilliant. I was thrown right in at the deep end. So, great fun. And when I started out in structural engineering, I was employed at a similar sort of business. And again, the same sort of stuff. You get recognised. You get recognised if you want to progress. You have a choice in terms of your development, or you should have a choice in terms of your development, how you want to move through in your career. So yeah, I have worked at a couple.
Fantastic. And Peter, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think fairly similar sort of pathway, really. I think I worked for a number of SMEs in my younger days. Most unusual, I worked in a carnivorous plant nursery, which was a very unusual experience, but really interesting, really fascinating, really niche scientific world, actually. So I think working for those SMEs in my early days, it was a great experience, because you tend to have there is a tendency to have a lot more responsibility put on you to push, to really push the edge of the envelope of your abilities, and that was quite exciting, working in those SMEs and doing that. So, but I'd say the majority of my career has been in big corporates, and I would say that only really confirmed in my mind my burning desire to become an entrepreneur and have my independence and be able to dictate my own destiny, and to be involved in exciting, innovative projects, which my business has afforded me to explore.
Fantastic, thank you. And another question for you. So, let's say I'm a young person, I'm in college, I'm going to leave. Uni's not the right decision. I don't want to go into a business. I want to set up my own business. I want to be self-employed or hire people, or that sort of pathway. What's your advice to that young person in terms of some of the skills they'll need, some of the things that perhaps they should watch out for, and also anybody that they should be speaking to about that? Sue, I'll go to you first to answer that.
Well, definitely the LEP, of course, Jordan. So the Local Enterprise Partnership. I think it's really important to talk to as many owner-managed people face-to-face as best we can, post-COVID, hopefully, but really talk to people who have done it, because the practical ideas that you will get out of that will beat any course or anything else that you can go on. And I do think that people have a misconception that people don't want to talk. My experience of owner-managed businesses is that people want to talk about their businesses. They're normally invested a very large part of their lives in them, and will talk to pretty much anybody who is interested and wants to listen. So I would say get out there, talk to some owner-managed businesses, and they'll give you the best advice.
Excellent. And Peter, what about yourself on that one?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Sue, actually, and that was kind of the spark or the origins of wanting to set up Innovation Labs, because I kind of felt that I'd spent quite a lot of time developing a large number of innovations in virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, gamification, and I felt that I had accumulated some quite significant knowledge in those areas that I wanted to pass on to people to avoid some of the pitfalls and terrible mistakes that I'd made. So we felt amongst myself and other businesses that Innovation Labs would be a fantastic conduit for relaying and passing on some of that wisdom and knowledge, and really allowing anybody with an idea or concept a sort of really accelerated pathway, with a lot less pitfalls open to them, that we could help facilitate for those individuals to decide that entrepreneurship and innovation might be for them. And I'm very proud to say that in the last 2.5 years, we've really helped a large number of people take very small acorns of ideas and develop them into, in some instances, multi-million-pound businesses. And we're incredibly proud of that, and would recommend anybody to get in touch with Innovation Labs. The New England Growth Hub is excellent. You've obviously got Mentor and the Chamber of Commerce. You've got some fantastic organisations in the region, second to none, I would say. So I'd say those organisations, but Innovation Labs, I have a personal, interest in people coming to talk to us, and I think that we have a lot to offer and help individuals that want to seek out that help.
Excellent, thank you, Peter. Good plug for everybody on that one. I like that. And James, over to you.
All of those things, and there's a real common sense perspective to it as well. So talk to people about your ideas, about your big idea, if it is a big idea, if it's a product or a new service, and just get the common sense check of, is it actually a good idea? And does anybody need it, first of all? And then do the really boring things that entrepreneurs really don't like doing, like writing business plans and looking at cash flow forecasts and stuff like that. Because really, I think it's really important that when people are starting businesses, they really try and understand why they're doing it and what they're doing it for and where they're going. And I know it's really difficult when you in the really early stages of starting out, but it really puts some perspective on it. And I went on a business course. It was a free business course at Barclays a long time ago. And they were sort of, gave you templates for all this sort of stuff. And the business plan was, are you going to employ people? What do you need to think about? Who are your competition? How are you going to be different? What's your USP? And then looking at cash flow forecasts, how much, do you need funding to start out? How long do you need that funding for? And all of these ideas, and it's really important because entrepreneurial people they come up with great ideas, but they're sometimes very bored by the detail, and the detail is sometimes what creates a great plan and a great success. And the other thing is, I just think people need to understand whether they want to be a business owner in the future or they want to be self-employed, and there's a big difference. You can do the thing that you love as a self-employed person, so you can be your own boss. And you will be doing, if you like baking cakes, you're going to be baking cakes. If you want to run a business and employ people, that's a different sort of existence. And you will be managing people and looking at finances and all that sort of stuff. So there's a big difference between the two.
Thanks. That was excellent. I'm conscious of the time as well. So just a huge thank you for joining us today to talk about SMEs. I could be here all afternoon talking to you, but I am also conscious it is a Friday afternoon. So huge thanks for joining us on Careers and Coffee today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So folks, that was James Potter, Sue Gull and Peter Brady talking to us about what it's like being an SME owner. So huge thank you to all of them for joining us. Obviously, tune in next week on Wednesday afternoons for more Careers and Coffee. Thanks.